Good. So good evening everybody and you're welcome to class today. So today we're going to be discussing about DAX. We're going to be introducing DAX to ourselves. And yes, for those of you who are new here, this is the Power BI weekly free training in which we started earlier this year. But for now, we've been able to do quite a lot of things. We've been able to cover what data is all about. We've been able to cover what data analytics is all about and every other thing as regards data analytics. We also move into talking about data cleaning and data transformation using Power Query. We spent and we did quite a lot of extensive training and classes on that as well. Then we started learning how to build little visuals, the simple rules and regulations as regards visuals, trying to build a bar chart, a line chart, a pie chart, and some other charts that we have. Then we moved on to talking about making our reports interactive by learning about filters and slicers and everything. So now we now want to go into one of the engine rooms of Power BI, into one of the things that makes Power BI Power BI. That's what you're going to be learning now, and that is what we call what? That is what we call DAX. So this is what makes Power BI even much more powerful. So now, before now, I know that majority of us we've been hearing about DAX, and in fact, some people are just so afraid of DAX, as if it's like JavaScript, as if it is one very difficult language and everything. No, I'm here to tell you that DAX is um, one of the most simple languages out there, one of the most simple expressions out there that you've ever learned. Your whole goal is just for you to understand the nitty gritty, understand what is it called, the functions, understand the um, you understand the functions, you understand the arguments and the logic behind the functions. When you understand all these things and you understand what it is that you want to do yourself, right? Once you understand all these things all together, it makes it easy for you to be able to do what? To be able to write a proper DAX. So, without wasting much of our time, let's move into DAX. So, the very question is DAX. 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 What is DAX? What is this DAX that we've been hearing all about? Right? So, basically, DAX is an acronym, right, that actually stands for Data Analysis Expression. It's an acronym that stands for what? Data Analysis Expression. So it is basically the formula language that is used in Power BI, Power Pivot, and the analysis services. So now, let me just put it to you that before we had Power BI, remember I told you that, remember when we discussed about when we discussed about Power Query, I told you that Power Query was formerly is also inside of Microsoft Excel, isn't it? The same way we have that, we also have what we call, aside from Power Query, we have pivot tables. Now, aside from pivot tables, there's something in Microsoft Excel also known as Power Pivot, and also known as, we also have the analysis services. Now, all these were part of Microsoft Excel, right? So the Power Pivot, the analysis services, Power BI, the three of them all share this common language amidst them, and that language is DAX, the Data Analysis Expression. So all you need to know is that you should not worry yourself, especially for all of you here that you have familiarity with writing Excel formulas, right? If you are very good at writing Excel formulas, if you can write is equal to sum in Excel, trust me, you can write DAX properly, because the idea, the intuition behind all these things are majorly the same thing, right? One thing you should also know is that what? Yes, they are like Microsoft Excel, but they are much more powerful and specially designed for us to work with, especially when we want to work with data models, when we want to do business intelligence, when we want to do data analysis. Are you following me? So that is what DAX is. So to reiterate ourselves, right? DAX, DAX, actually stands for what? Data Analysis Expression. And it is the formula language used in Power BI. Now, I want to know that, I want you to all put mind to this, that if you notice, this is the second programming language that is used in Power BI desktop, isn't it? Who can remind me of the first programming language that we talked about? Anybody? What was the first language we discussed?
PowerBI editor.
What do you say?
I said the PowerBI editor.
No, Power Query Editor is not a language. There was a language inside of Power Query Editor. Do you remember the name of that language?
Yeah.
M language.
Thank you very much. The M language. The M language is used in the Power Query Editor. You can also use it both in your um, Power BI and also in your what? In your Microsoft Excel. Same thing as DAX. You can use your DAX in your Power BI. You can also use DAX in Microsoft Excel, and it goes like that. So, as regards definition of DAX, I believe we are all on the same page, right, everybody? We all understand what DAX stands for now. So it is basically what? A formula language that is similar to our Excel formulas. Is that understood, everybody? Good. Now let's go. Now, this DAX, why does it matter? Why is it important that we learn how to write DAX? Because DAX, one of the characteristics of DAX is that, unlike when you're working in Excel, that you're working with individual cells and the rest in Excel, DAX works with tables and columns. Are you following? DAX also allows you to be able to understand, it also understands the relationship that exists between tables automatically. DAX actually also creates dynamic calculations that responds to our filters, to our slicers, and the rest like that. And we can also use it to perfect um, our time intelligence. We're still going to be talking about each and everything, all these things in DAX. Now, this DAX class, we are going to divide it into like two parts. We're going to do this first part, right, which is just to preview you into DAX. We are still going to go into time intelligence. We're going to go into dynamic calculations. We're going to be doing some other things, separate classes on DAX, so that you'll be able to bring all of these things together to have a full overview. I'm going to be bringing other experts that are going to be taking these classes as well. Now, why does DAX matter? Right? Before now, we have actually been building visual from our raw data, isn't it? But DAX allows us to be able to go more in depth in that visual that we're building. Because with DAX, we get to create custom calculations, right? We want to know the total sales, we want to know the profit margin, we want to know year-on-year growth, we want to know the growth percentage, right? DAX allows us to be able to do that. We want to do time intelligence by analyzing over time, right? What happened yesterday? What happened this time last year? What happened this time 2 years ago? What happened year to date? Month on month growth. Same period last year, same period this year. All these things you analyze over time. Also, DAX allows us to be able to add some complex business logic, right? Oh, if our sales is greater than our target, that means we have passed. If our sales is not greater than our target, that means we have failed. So that is just a simple business logic that we can use DAX to write, in which we cannot do all this like that directly from Power BI. Are you following? Also, DAX allows us to be able to create some dynamic measures, right? Calculations that automatically change or automatically adjust based on whatever you have selected, right? Calculations that change based on any form of filter that you have done, right? DAX allows you to be able to create all these things. So that is what these are some of the reasons why it is very important for us to do DAX. For example, in our report, we could have shown, we are able to show total quantity by month in our PowerBI reports earlier. I don't know if anybody, if you can, if you remember, we're able to show our total quantity by month in our PowerBI earlier. But with DAX, that is us without even writing DAX. Now, but with DAX, DAX allows us to even know the total sales, the total quantity. We can compare the quantity of last year to this year. We can compare the calculation of the percentage change. Are you following? We can also show whether that quantity is above a target or below a target. And all these things are going to be done automatically. These are things that DAX allows us to be able to do. Please, do you understand why DAX matters now, everybody? Do you understand why DAX matters now? I hope it is not looking too difficult, right? It's still very simple, very easy, isn't it? As promised, right, everybody? Good. Now, let's now go into what make up DAX. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be learning about the 3 DAX objects. What make up DAX? We're also going to be learning some basic aggregation functions. We're going to learn how to create our first measures. We're going to then understand the concept of implicit and explicit measures. Then I'm going to talk about some best practices in DAX. Are we following, everybody? So we're going to be learning all this now. So you have not been concentrating all before now. Now it's time for you to get your pen and paper or your Power BI, open it up, power it, and take note of everything that we are about to discuss. Now, before we go, for those of us who are watching this online on YouTube, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more on Power BI. Now, let's go. So, DAX comprises of 3 major objects. DAX comprises of what? 3 major objects. DAX allows you to create 3 different types of objects. The first one is what we call measures. The second one is what we call calculated columns. The third one is what we call calculated tables. And each and every one of them have their use case. Each and every one of them have their where they excel and where they do not excel. So it is important that we take each and every one of them one after the other. For those of us who are actually on the WhatsApp group, I am also at the end of this class to ease our learning. I'm also going to be sharing a write-up that actually details everything that we are discussing, even much more detailed than the much more detailed than the PowerPoint presentation, right? So word for word, things I've said, everything, I'm going to be creating that for you. So promise, make sure you remind me if I don't send it before tomorrow. Or by the end of tomorrow, if you don't have it, remind me. Good. Now, so DAX is divided into 3 different object types. The first one is what? We have measures. The second one is what? Calculated columns. And the third one is calculated tables. DAX is divided into 3 objects. The first one is what? Measures. The second one is calculated columns. The third one is calculated tables. So now, my people, let's take it one after the other. So let's move. Now let's start with measures and calculated columns, because these two are the ones you are going to be using majority of the time. We are going to be using both measures and calculated columns majority of the time. So what are measures? What are calculated columns? What are measures? What are calculated column? What are measures and what are calculated columns? So now, when you hear the term measures, right, or when you hear the term calculated column, what comes to our mind, or what should come to our mind? What should come to our mind? So let's take it. I think somebody raised their hand. Okay, nobody raised their hand. I believe everybody can still see my screen. Good. So measures actually allows us to calculate at so measures are used to like aggregate. That's what should come to your mind when you talk about measures. When you are thinking about measures, right, it allows us to be able to do what? It allows us to be able to aggregate. We use it to aggregate data. So when we want to give total of something, we want to find the average of something, we want to find the count of something, all these ones, that's when you think about measures. So a measure is basically a DAX calculation, right, that computes a value based on the current filter or current visual in a report. So there are still some other terminologies that are going to be coming up as we proceed. Terminologies like filter context, terminologies like visual context, all these things. Don't worry yourself. As we proceed, I'm going to be breaking down all those terminologies. But take note of the way I am saying it. That what? A measure allows you to do what? Compute a value based on the current filter or the current visual in a report. So measures can be dynamic. They are dynamic in nature. But even though they are dynamic, they are made for one simple thing, which is what? Aggregation. When we want to find the sum of something, we want to find the average of something, we want to show in value, we want to show the total amount of something, and the rest like that. Another thing about measures is that measures actually show in our values area. When we go back to Power BI, I'm going to show you all these things. Now, something about measures also is that what? They are stored in a small file size, because it's just like is equal to sum in Excel. Something as small as that. That is what a measure is. Are you with me? Something as small as is equal to what? Is equal to sum. So it is very, very small compared to the other big boy, calculated column. So what is a calculated column? A calculated column is a column that is created inside a table using DAX. The calculated column is a column that is calculated inside the table using DAX. So a calculated table does what? A calculated table allows you, a calculated column rather, a calculated column allows you to be able to create a column inside already prepared table. Are you following? That does one major thing. And what is that thing? it allows you to compute a value for each and every row. Are you following? For each and every row, and store the results inside of the data model. So it is static, it is stored in the table, and then we have a row by row calculation. Are you following? So in fact, it will show on your column, on your table, as a regular column. And as no matter how big your database is, it will increase that in size. Now imagine in your data set, there are times where you create more than 1, 2, 3, 4 calculated columns. Are you following? You can create more than 1, 2, 3, 4 calculated columns inside the what? Inside your model. So, and as you are creating them, you should know that what your data model is getting what is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So to think about calculated column, think of it as what row by row calculation that is saved permanently. While to think of measure as something that is calculated when needed, but it changes with context. Are you following? It changes with what? With context. So from the definition I have on the screen, you can see that what a calculated column is usually static, and it does this calculation row by row, and it's stored on your what? On your data model. But a measure is dynamic. If you press any filter, the result that you have in that filter will change the measure. Then a measure is also an aggregation, and is usually not stored too much. It doesn't take a lot of space in your what? In your data model. So that is what measures and calculated column is all about. That is what measures and calculated column is all about. So in terms of context, a calculated column is what works with row context. That is, the context is row on row, each and every individual row. Whereas the measures have what we call filter context. What does filter context mean? Filter context means that what? Once you make a filter, it changes anything. So if you don't make any filter, then there is no change. Are you following? But for row context, each and every row will be what? Will be different. Also, when in terms of when it is being run, your calculated column is run usually when you are refreshing. It is calculated at the refresh time. But your measure is done at the query time, when you are doing what? Interacting with the report. That is why you can see I started with calculate at query time and calculate at refresh time, because the query time means when you are, as you are clicking filter, as you are interacting with the report, as you are interacting with it, your measure is changing dynamically, but your calculated column will remain the same. Are you following me, everybody? So these are some things that you need to do. What you need to put your mind to when we talked about measures and calculated column. Now let's move. So when do you use a measure? When do you use calculated column? Yes, a measure can be used to do what? Oh, I want to find the total sales, right? I want to find the total sales. That is an aggregate data. I want to find the average price, an aggregate data. I want to know the number of customers, aggregate data. I want to know year-to-date revenue. I want to know the profit margin. Anything that is summarizing, anything that is aggregating, right? Use what? Measures for that. Also, we have calculated columns. For calculated columns, you are creating a new column entirely to that data set, right? So you want to do a full name column. For example, you want to merge the first name and the last name together, right? That is a full name column. You want to add, and each and everybody names are different, because the first name of everybody, is different from the last name of everybody. So each and every of the stuff is going to run row by row. Then the age of everybody. You want to find the age of your customers. You get it there. You want to know the category of pricing. Is this a high price? Is it a lower price? And the rest like that. any form of segmentation that you want to do, you can do that with your what? With your calculated column. You want to know the month name from date, right? You do all this with your what? With your calculated column. So one of the golden rules, or one of the things that you should know, is that 90% of the time you'll be using measures. In fact, it's always advised that you use what? That you use measures. Is that understood, everybody? It is advised that you do what? That you use what? You use measures. Good. So let's proceed. Now let's now talk about calculated tables. So what are now calculated tables? You know, I told you, I said this stuff is divided into three. We talked about measures, which is what? Which is filter context. We talked about calculated column, which is what? Which is row context, row on row calculation. Good. Now let's talk about calculated tables. So what are calculated tables? Now, calculated tables allows you to be able to do what? To create new table. So a calculated table is an entirely new table that you create using DAX. So DAX generates a new table from the existing data, and that result is now being stored in our what? In our model. Are you following me? DAX does what? Create a new table, or a new, entirely new table from our existing data, right? And the result is now stored in our data model. We don't use this all the time, but yes, once in a while you want to use it. So, like unlike the other one, they also calculate at refresh time, one, and also they are stored in your model. They are stored in the model. So we have different examples of this. We have some examples when you want to do a date table, or a date table, or a calendar table, right? It's usually a calculated table that you use for that, in which you are still going to see as we proceed. Now, when do we use calculated tables? You can see we use calculated tables in these four areas. It can be more than this, but from my research, these are the four that I see that yes, calculated table is usually being used. One is the date tables. When you want to create a custom calendar or a custom date table, are you following? Which is actually always advisable that you have a single date table in which all your other data sets can connect to. Don't worry, when we get to data modeling part of PowerBI, we are still going to talk extensively about some other things. But I don't want to rush everything now, because if you rush everything, you will rush out. Are you following? So that's why we're taking it bit by bit. You will see the reason why it's important to have a date table. Sometimes also, you also want to use it to create a reference table. For example, a lookup table, e.g. for months, for categories. Yes, your date table can also serve as your what? As your reference table. Because maybe the months that are used in your normal data set, there's too much of error, and you cannot be editing and doing all those things. But the date there is correct. You can connect the date that is in your data set to the date table, and then it references everything for you. Also, when you want to create a list of a filter table, that is a subset of the existing data, e.g. you want to create an active customer table, you can also use calculated table for that. Also, you can use calculated table to do what? To merge different tables, multiple tables, into a single table. You can combine multiple tables into what? Into a single table. So these are what you can use what? Calculated tables to do. And we have an example. So for example, when you want to create a date table, this is how you write the date table, but ignore this for now. So let's go. So now let's quickly talk about, let's summarize everything that we've been discussing before now. The first is, we talked about measures, we talked about DAX, which stands for data analysis expression, and I told you that the data analysis expression is divided into three. The first one is what? Measures. which is told that I told you to use it 90% of the time, which is an aggregation. We use it for aggregation, and it is filter context. Filter context means when you filter something, the value changes, right? So you have example of this is when you're doing stuff like total sales, average price, number of orders, and the rest like that. Then we also have calculated columns. Calculated columns work with what? Row context. It allows you to calculate based on each and every row. It is added to the data and it saves more space. So stuff like age, stuff like full name, stuff like price category, product category, all these all fall under calculated columns. Then we have the calculated table, which is rarely used. We use it to do what? We use DAX to create a new table from scratch. Oh, sorry, from the existing data. So we have date table, lookup table, and sometimes filtered table. So this is all we have been talking about before now. So time for questions. Do we have any question? Do we have any question? Yes, tell me, Abdurrahim.
Hello, Mr. Bankala.
No, Abdurrahim Aminat raised her hand. So go on, Aminat.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So is
Yes.
it right for us to say measures are used for numerical strings, while calculated columns are used for text strings?
No, you can't say that because there are some part of it that there are some numerical strings that you still use, whether it's numerical, whether it's textual, whether it's date, any data type, you can use measure for it. Any data type, you can use calculated column for it. You can use calculated table for it. Is that understood, Aminat? That does not even have an effect yet. Are you following? Where to have effect, you are going to be seeing it very, very soon. Thank you very much, Aminat. Okay, Mr. Godwin.
Okay, Mr. Bankala, I just wanted to confirm if you have a PDF document that summarizes this, what we can be reading or studying.
Definitely. I think you came in late. I already said I'll be sharing that to us on the WhatsApp group.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay. Now, so my own question time. Number one, which of these DAX objects is used or calculates row by row and is usually stored in the measure and the model? Is it a measure? Is it a calculated column or a calculated table? Everybody.
Calculated column, sir.
Calculated
columns.
calculated column. Good. You can see it's very simple now.
Uncle, you can see the answer now.
You can see the answer. Ah, so because you have seen the answer. Well, let me remove the screen. Let's take another one. Number two. Which of the DAX objects actually changes automatically when you apply a slicer in your report? Is it a calculated column, a measure, or a calculated table?
Measure, sir.
Which one now? There is no more chorus answer because I've removed it from the screen.
Measure.
Measures, yes. So the measures does that. So the measures changes automatically, right? When you apply filters or you apply slicers in your report. So those are some of the things that you what that will just be asked. Now I'm also trying to see if it's possible. Some of you later might want to write the PowerBI official examination, right? So the PowerBI official examination PL 300, right? Which I'm also certified to train you on. So that's why, as much as possible, I'm trying to break down all these concepts because that is where we'll be using all these things we are talking about: filter context, row context. when I say filter context, now I believe everybody knows what filter context is. And when I say row context, I believe now everybody understands what row context is all about. Good. Now, everybody, let's now go into application. Basic aggregation functions. Because this is one of the most popular ones that you use. If you don't do anything in data analysis expression DAX, you're going to be doing your basic aggregation function. It's very normal for you to do it, unless you are just playing. So what are the basic ones? The first one is the sum function. We started learning the function, the DAX functions, one after the other. So we start off with the what? With the sum function. The first thing I'll ask you, is sum function a measure or a calculated column? Nobody knows now. Obviously, sum function is an aggregation. And when it's an aggregation, what is it? Is it a calculated column or a measure? They are not talking again. Aggregation, is it calculated column or measure? Obviously, it is a measure.
Measure.
It is a what? It is a measure. So now, what does the sum function do for you? The sum functions allows us to be able to add up all the numbers, the numerical values or numerical numbers in a column. That's what sum does for you. Now, if you look at it, I have painstakingly added the syntax. So, the sum function, right, it allows us to add up all the numbers that we have in a what? That we have in a column. So it adds up all, it sums up, it adds up all those numbers. And you can see there is a syntax there. That's what? The syntax is for you to say sum, you open your brackets, the table name, and the column name. You can see the way it's written. Because in Power BI, you need to attribute the column name to the table that that column is existing inside of. Are you with me? So you can see, very simple writing. Sum of the table and the column inside that table. And an example is for us to have the total sales sum, which is the sum of the sales amounts. The table name is sales, the column is what? Amounts. So how do we create this? I'm going to show you as a demo as we proceed. So the first function you learn is the sum function. The next one is what? Is the average. What does average do? Average allows us to be able to calculate the average of numbers in the column. Right? So the same way sum goes is the same way average goes. Average, table name, column name. Are you seeing it? So if you have this one now, let's say you have this. The average price is equal to average of the product price, and you have your result. Do you see that it is very simple and it is similar to what you have in Excel? Or I mean, I promise, is it not very simple? Is this not what you have in Excel as well? Something similar to this? Now you can see, so when I told you at the beginning of this class that it was very, very simple, you can see now that it is simple. I don't know. Okay, so this is average. Now we have counts. Now you can see counts. Count say, okay, well, as the boss of all of you, I'm not going to stay on numbers alone because I'm not meant to count only numbers alone. Right? So the first type of counts that we have, because you can see we have several types of them. We have the normal count that counts only the what? The numbers that we have inside of the column. Then we have another one called count A that counts non-blank values. Look at that. Non-blank values. There's a difference. So we are going to practicalize everything, because if you don't practice it, you will not know the difference. You will not know when to use count. You don't know when to use count A. You don't know when to use count rows. Count rows is that you are counting each row, whether there is a value or not. Then you have the distinct count. The distinct count counts unique values. Please, you need to take note of this count. Count is very hard. Oh my God. You can see count as 4. In Excel, how many do you have? Just 2, I think, or 3. Count blank and the rest. You have count, count A, count blank, right? Now you can see you have count rows, you have distinct count, you have count A, and you have count. That does 4 different types of counting. Count, again, count only the numbers. Count A, count the non-blank. What does non-blank means? It means any column and any row in that column that has any type of value, whether the value is numerical or date or textual or signal or any form of data type that is there. As far as that column and that row is not blank, it will do what? It will count it. Count rows, whether there is a blanco or there is no blanco, it will count each and every row that you have what? That you have in the column. Then you have distinct count. Distinct count counts everything that are unique. The unique values. If one thing is showing more than 10 times, it will count it as 1. If another one is showing 3 times, it is still 1. It becomes 2, not 13. Do you see it now? So please, I'm also going to practicalize all this, so we're going to see it in action. Then we have the mean and the max function, the 2 big boys. What is the mean function? What is it used for? The mean allows you to find the smallest value in the column. The smallest value in the column. While the max allows you to find the largest value in the column. And you can see the syntax and examples. They are similar to what we have used to in Microsoft Excel. Now, any questions so far? Before we now walk into creating our first measure. Any questions so far? I believe I am still audible and the network is not tracking. Perfect, good. Now, let's now bring up our Power BI. Okay, somebody saying something. You have a question? Okay, nobody's talking. So now let's now create our first measure. And or should I just go through implicit and explicit first? Let's quickly talk about implicit and explicit before I now go to Power BI, so that I just know I'm done with the PowerPoint slide. Now, when we come to measures, we have 2 types of measures. Everybody should take note of now. We have 2 types of what? 2 types of measures. The first measure is the implicit measure, and the second measure is the what? Is the explicit measure. Please, you need to take note of what I'm about to explain now. What are implicit measures? What are explicit measures? It is very important that you understand it. Now, implicit measures are measures that are automatically created by Power BI, especially when you drag a numerical stuff into a visual. You know, it will automatically do total something, sum of something, isn't it? Total amount, number of products. When you just drag it into your visual, that type of stuff is called implicit measure. It is a measure that is calculated automatically by who? By Power BI. And it's usually good for what? for a quick exploration. Are you following? You are not the one writing any formula. Power BI is doing it for you automatically, right? And it's very good because it is very fast and it is used for your your quick exploration, right? You don't need any formula. It is just a single drag and drop. The result, that formula, the measure, is not going to be shown in your field pane. Are you following? But one thing about it is that what? You cannot control the formatting and you cannot use it in other form of calculations. Are you following? So those are just why we can't use implicit function or implicit measures. But the one that is important for you to use or know is the explicit measure, which is the one that you sit down by yourself, carry your 10 fingers and type into the keyboard with the keyboard onto the Power BI. That is the explicit measures, the measures that you create yourself using DAX formulas. The measures that you create yourself using DAX formulas is what? Explicit measure. So when you do total sales is equal to sum of sales amount, what is that? Implicit or explicit? Explicit, because you are writing the formula yourself. Let me give you an example in Microsoft Excel. You know, in Microsoft Excel, if you do is equal to sum something something. So far I know that press is equal to sum something something. That is already an explicit. But implicit in Excel terminology is when you highlight all through and you come down to the status bar down. You know that it will give like a summation, right? That one is implicit. Are you following me, everybody? So now for explicit, now what are some of the characteristics of explicit measure? The first one is that what it is reusable across multiple visual. So far you have done it once, you can keep plugging it into lot and lot of other visuals. Are you with me? You can also use it for other calculations. You can depend on it, maybe the result from the sum, use it for another thing. Are you following? You can also give it a name, a clear descriptive name. You can also format it consistently. Another thing there is that other people can even now see it and use it. Let's say I work with a Power BI project file in which 2 or 3 people can work on the same Power BI report. Yes, that is also possible. I'm also going to be teaching you how to do that in this class. How 2, 3, 4 people can work in the same Power BI environment, the same projects. Yes, it is very, very possible. Are you with me, everybody? Now, and explicit is actually professional to use. It is the professional way of doing things. So that is implicit and explicit measures. So the best practice is that you should always create your explicit measure for production reports. So these are some of the common DAX patterns. You want to know your total sales, number of orders, highest sales, average sales, unique customer, all these ones. I'm going to give you this thing in the comments and the WhatsApp group. Now let me also tell you something. Because I am not just here to come and teach you, we are also here to make sure you are work ready, and when you are at your place of work, you don't have headache. We are also in the age of AI. We are going to be having a session soon that will show you how to use cloud, connect cloud directly to your Power BI to create all these measures fast inside your Power BI itself. Are you following me? We are going to be doing all that as well. We have quite a lot of things to achieve. Don't worry. So now, what are the best practices for writing DAX? The first one is that what you use descriptive names. Don't just call something measure 1, measure 2, measure 3. No. Use names that when another person is seeing it, they can understand exactly what you have said there. Are you with me? Also, you make sure you use the names of the tables. Sum of sales of amounts, not just sum of amounts. Also, you need to comment once in a while when you're writing too much of complex formula and you know that even you yourself you can forget what you have done. What do you do instead? You use what? Comment. To write notes to yourself. And how do you comment in DAX? You use the double pipe. Another thing is that what? You should make sure that you are consistent. You make sure you format your measures, and you make sure you test with a small data first. Make sure it works before you use a very big or large table. So that is it about the PowerPoint presentation. So let us now practice everything that I have said. So I'm going to be sharing my screen now. I'm going to be bringing the Power BI screen up. So we're going to see. So let me share my screen for those of us following on the Google Meet. So I have just shared my screen, my entire screen. Can I get a confirmation that everybody can see my screen? Okay. Okay. Good. So let's talk about this. Now we had all these ones that we have done before now. This one that we did here, what type of measure is it? Is it implicit or explicit? Anybody?
Implicit.
Implicit. Why is it implicit?
Implicit. Yeah, because you dragged from the.
Okay.
Yes, because it's a drag and drop, and it is automatically created for us by what? By Power BI. So now, let's go. How do I create a measure? Right? Or a calculated table. But let's start with the measure first. Now we have sum of quantity. But there was something I noticed in our reports, which I'm going to open up now. I noticed that for one reason or the other, this report was not totally cleaned. I don't know why. So we are going to try to clean this together now. I think this part was not totally clean, this total amount part. So let's quickly work on that. So how do I do that? I go to home, I go to my transform, and I quickly change that part, right? So let's just quickly clean this so that we can actually have a good time together working with the first part of that that I'm going to write in. So we have that, let it load, it's loading, good, that's loaded. Now we have this total amount side, right? So let's just replace all the NGNs with nothing. Right, then we remove the naira signs. Then, which one again? The ends. Let's remove the ends. And I think that should be it for us. Okay, we have error. There's one error somewhere there, right? So let's quickly so let me take blank and let me take error. Okay, fine, let us make error blank. So let's show that error. Wow, they are this much. Okay, so we can come here and you can actually replace values, and you can say it is 0, and you say, and we just make it blank, and you say okay. Okay, good. Now we have only the blank, and then we remove the filter that we've done. But everybody look at something. Look at something. Before I proceed, let me just quickly show you something. You notice that you have quantity here, you have price here, and this is total amount. What does that tell you? It means that I'm supposed to multiply this by this to get total amount, isn't it? Which I can actually do inside of this place. But I'm going to do it inside of what? I'm going to do it inside of the DAX. So just for you to know that. So let's remove this. And yes, so I think we're all good now. Yes, no more numerical. Good. Then that means I can just change this from ABC to decimal number or something. Good, no error. Perfect. So let's now close and apply. Let's see, is there still any other one? No. Let me see this one. ATM, bank transfer, card, cash, method, POS, transfer, USD, USSD. Okay, that's okay. Good. So now let's save all this. Let's close and apply, and we are back. So let this load. So once it loads, we are going to be seeing some things now. We're trying to load everything, and let's see. Good. So now let's start with a calculated column. Right? Let's confirm that this our total amount is even correct. Or for example, those ones that we have blank, for example, these two and this here, this space is blank. Can you see? Some of them are blank, isn't it? Since they are blank, we can just create another column that we are very sure of the calculation. Do you see? So, but let's start with measures and calculation column and everything. So when I'm in the table view like this, I will notice that my tabs are different. If I go to the report view, do you see what you have up? But when you go to table view, see what you have now. You have your table transaction ID, you have your help, external tools, you have your table tools, you have your column tools, which are DAX ready, the table tools especially. Now inside the table tools, you can see you have new measure, you have quick measure, you have new column, you have new table. But for this case, we are going to start with what? New measure. So how does new measure work? I'm just going to click on new measure. And when I click on new measure, you can see it's going to come up here and say measure inside the formula bar. So it is inside this formula bar, then you now type in what you want to do there. So take for example, we want to know the total quantity sold, right? How do I go about it? So your measure name always comes before the equal to in PowerBI, in DAX. So if I say I want to do total quantity like this, what does total quantity means? Total quantity is equal to what? Is equal to the what? The sum of all this quantity. So I'll say total quantity is equal to sum. Do you see? I press sum and the intelligence is already giving me different one. So you can see I have sum here and I have summarize column, and I have sum x. Sum x is an iterator. So now that is sum based on something. That is sum x. But I'm working with sum now, so I'm going to press tab for sum. And if you can see, as I press tab for sum, do you notice that it brought out sum and it said sum and column name? It now said sum adds all the numbers in a column. Can we all see that? So even PowerBI is making it easy for you to use. Then you have the what? The different columns here. You have the table itself, but you have the columns in the table. Now what we are trying to sum together is what? Is the quantity. So you can see now I have sum, open bracket, the name of the data set, Niger Phone Shop Sales 2024, then the name of the column, quantity. Then I will now close my bracket. So when I press enter, two things will happen. At this side, I'm going to have at the data side, you can see I have total quantity showing there. Can you see? And I have this icon in front of it telling me that this is a what? This is a calculated table. Actually, this is a measure. This icon is telling me that it is a what? It is a measure. Now let's come to this place now. Remember we had this what? This sum of quantity here, isn't it? So let's see whether we're also going to have the same amount, the same as this total quantity here. So let me click on this, palm. You can see this is it here. You can see you have the same amount. And this time around, did you notice that it did not come as sum of quantity like this one? Instead, what did it show? It showed for us total quantity straight up. Now, this is a what? Explicit measure, while this is a what? Implicit measure. Is that understood, everybody? Okay, let's move. Now, we've done a measure. Now, let's do a calculated column. So, how do we do calculated column? So, let's say I want to multiply the or should we do another example on what's it called? Another example on another measure.
Measures.
Okay. So what other measures can we do? And I
They count
wanted to do some classworks because there are some classworks I wanted you to do. Because I want you to find a measure, so I'm going to put that in the WhatsApp group now. Your assignments before next class. If you like, go and use ChatGPT. You will not know it. But when you sit down and try to do it yourself, you perfect it. First, you calculate a measure for the total sales. Are you following? Using the sum, you calculate the average price, you calculate the number of orders, you calculate the unique customers, you calculate yourself the highest sale. So we can do it as well together right now. But I want you to also try it on your own. So let's do another measure. So we've done total quantity, right? So let's do another measure. Let's find the average price. So how do we find the average price? I want to find average price. What do? I go to my table tools. I click on new measure, right? Then I say, oh, I want to find the average price. So I say average price is equal to what? The average price is equal to average of the unit price, right? And I close my bracket and I press enter. That way I have the average price. I can say, okay, I want to know the number of orders. Now, the transaction good, perfect. This is where we now learn all those counts, different types of counts now. This is where we now learn them, the different types of counts. Do I have any blank in counts in this transaction ID? We already renamed all those blanks to something, isn't it? Okay, don't worry. I'm going to be doing it all together. So, let's do counts. Different types of counts. How many types of counts did we do earlier?
4 types.
4 types. Good. Now let's put all of them to what? Let's put them to action. Now let's want to know the total transactions. That what? The number of orders that took place. Thinking that each and every of this order is different. We want to count based on the transaction ID. Right? So let's start. So that is also a what? Table view, a new measure. Right? So let's say I want to count orders. Right? So let's say count order 1 is what? Count of our transaction ID. This is ordinary counts. I'll close my brackets. I'll run it. That's count order 1. Let me copy this. New measure. Now count order 2. I will not use count. Instead, I will use what? Count A. What does count A do, everybody? Count A allows you to count non-blank rows. Then, let's do another one. New measure. What's the third or fourth one?
Rows.
Count rows. Good. count rows. Now, then we run the count rows. Now, what has happened? It's saying that what? A single value in the cannot be determined because this is not the use case of COUNTROWS actually. So I expected the error. What's the first one? There's another one. We had distinct count. Yeah, distinct count is what to use now. Distinct count. Distinct count. Okay. So let's run it. That's the third one. So we're going to be using that 3. Now, moment of truth. Let's bring it up together. So let's go to a new sheet. So I'm going to just choose transaction ID, implicit function. And I will say I want it to summarize by counting for me. Implicit function 1, count for me. Implicit function 2. I choose count here. Now I'm going to choose count distinct. We are saying this is implicit function. These are implicit functions. Now let us now use our counts. The first one, the second one, and the third one. Now, what is going on? What has happened? When I use counts in this place, let's look at the formula. This one counts all the what? All the values, all the numerical values. That is what it is supposed to count. So sometimes the truth about count is sometimes it works even when it's never supposed to do what it's supposed to do, for example, in this case. Because there is actually no transaction there, no ID, but it is still counting it. Can you see? The second one is what? This one is count A, which is counting everything that is not blank. Everything in count in this count transaction ID is okay. Let me even use it for total amount. You will see it now in full action. So let me say new measure count amount. So it's equal to count A tab of total amount. You know that in total amount there are some blanks there, right? So let's see it in action. So you see what I'm talking about now. So normally we're supposed to have 935 too, but if I click it now, you can see it's having 898. Why? Because in the total amount, even though it is counting it one after the other, it is seeing some empty. So those empty that it is seeing, it is removing it. Do you get everybody? The empty that it is seeing, it is doing what? It is removing it. Then you have your distinct count, which is counting each and every one of them unique. So I want to assume that each of these transactions, TXNDs, they are all unique. But this no ID, instead of it to be 1, 2, 3, whatever is how many that is here, are you following me? It counts it as 1. Do you get that? It is just one no ID. That is what your distinct count is doing for you in the count order 3. Are you with me, everybody? So that is how we write calculated measures. Any questions so far? I hope I'm not eating too much into our time like this. Nobody is even complaining about the time. We're supposed to use 2 hours. We've had 1 hour. We've used 2 hours. Okay, Oluchi, tell me.
Mr. Bankole, why is this is it dialog box? Why is it so beautiful like that?
Why is it so beautiful?
Like when you are, I don't know how to put it, but like when you just touch count orders, click on it, then go to that
This one
Go
here.
to that ahead. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
why is it? Why is it like this? Like
oh, your
how?
own is not showing like this. Oh, okay, that's because I have tweaked my own, right?
Mm-mm.
So what did I tweak? How do I do it? So let me just quickly teach you.
Okay.
You go to File, you go
Okay,
to
sir.
Option and Settings, you go to Option. Inside of it, something will load for you. It will pop up. It's coming. 1 minute. Now you come to this place that says Preview Features. So when you click on Preview Features, right? And there's even added that manual. Let me add this. So you will now come to this place that says on Object Interaction. Can you see it? You click on it. For me now, you can see I've majorly chosen almost everything, right? That's because I use almost everything. So you too can choose everything if you want to do it. But don't choose one. There's one that will be disturbing you to be logging in all the time. Any one of these report one, you don't need to choose it because it will be telling you to log in. If you don't have a login, it won't allow you to work. But just use the same one. But for the what you have asked me on object interaction, are you following? So that's that. And you will need to restart before it starts showing on your distance. And that is also why my own build is here and my data is separate from the build and my format is separate from build. If you don't do it, your format is going to be inside of build, and if you don't even have build, it will be written as visualization, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that is what we have here. So now everybody, let's do one calculated table and calculated column for total amount. Right? So which is the multiplication of the quantity by the unit price, isn't it? Quantity multiplied by unit price. So how do I write the formula? It's as simple as just going, okay, table tools, new column now, not new measure, new column now. Okay, what is the new column I want to do? Okay, what I want to do is I want to go to, I said the name of it is what? Is total underscore amount, right? Or total revenue, or total sale, or sales amount. Let's say sales amount, so that it does not conflict. It does not conflict the other one. So let's say sales amount. So sales amount is equal to what? Is equal to our unit price, right? Unit price. You can see as I'm typing unit price, it brought it out for me. Multiplied by what? Multiplied by our what? Our quantity. So see quantity here. Okay. Quantity. Okay. Simple. Now press enter. And once I do that, automatically it runs all these things for me. You can see. Now even this one that does not have a total amount, you can see there is a total amount for it. And it goes on and on and on and on like that. So that is how we work with that. And if you look at this place now, look at the sales amount now showing. Do you see that its own expression, its own symbol is different from the total quantity symbol? Do you see that there is a difference? Do you see that there is a difference? So this one is what? Measure. Why this one is what? Is calculated column. So that is how we create calculated column. And with that, we've come to the end of our class today. Yes, promise. You have a question.
Yes, sir. Sorry. Referencing the data cafe data set.
Yes.
From what you just showed to us, okay, there is a bit of unit price, quantity, and total amount. So from the data set, some cases you have no there's a blank unit price, then there's quantity, and
Yes.
there's amount. Then
Yes.
sometimes you have blank in quantity, then there's nothing in the unit price, and the
yes,
total amount is blank. So how
yes.
will you now be able to automatically, not like doing the manual? Maybe if you saw on the
Good.
platform where
Now,
somebody can
yes,
process
yes,
the
yes.
code.
Now, yeah, that person is very right. What that person said. And this is being sincerity. I saw the message, I just laugh. I say, ah. And I think I saw your comment like, what about if it is a large? See, the truth of it is that is why Excel is still one of the best place to clean your data. There are some things that you still need to have to just do it manually. Are you following? So, yes, in that case, even in this one report, I know that there are some that are blank. But because in Power BI, you cannot predominantly go and edit. You can only create a new column. But to edit the data, it does not allow you to do it. Do you understand? And because if you want to edit, it does it in bulk and everything. But there are some specific things that you have to do uniquely. That's number one. Number two is also because it is this that are test data. In a professional setting, there's supposed to be another table for products and their price that we are not going to reference them together. Are you following me? So the way we have products, we have their price, right? We don't have the product. This one now, this table now is because of this setting that we are in. That's why we are doing it like this. Normally, we are still going to talk about data modeling, but we are still going to break down all these tables into smaller ones that you now make it make more sense to you. Do you understand? So just see everything as us still in training, right? And we're going to make quite a lot of things from this. Don't worry.
Thank
So
you,
yes,
sir.
the person is correct. There are times you have to go back to Excel just to edit some or two things there. Simple as that. Any other question? So please, everybody, try to do your assignment before Thursday and prepare yourself for the next part of DAX. We're going to talk about the calculate functions, one of the most popular, most important function ever. We're going to be talking more about filter, context, basics, and if statements in DAX, text. We can't complete all this that day, but at least we try as much as possible to do quite a lot of things. So, do we have any question, everybody? So if you have any question, you can just drop it on the comment section of the YouTube channel. For those of us that are in the WhatsApp group, please, you can just put your question in the WhatsApp as well. And thank you very much, everybody, for staying tuned from the beginning of the class to now. And please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to follow, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, put your comments, and if you are interested in joining the WhatsApp group, please don't hesitate to let us know. And the WhatsApp link, just type in the WhatsApp link in the comment section, and automatically you get a WhatsApp a response with the link to the WhatsApp group. So thank you very much, everybody, for staying tuned, and do have a wonderful evening. See you next class. Bye bye.
Thank you, Mr. Bankole,
Thank you so
and good
much,
night,
sir.
everyone.
Yes,
And
good
good
night,
night,
everybody.
everyone.